It's a Victory Monday here on the San Francisco 49ers reporting. Coming up on today's show, news, notes, observations following San Francisco's 34-3 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. First, though, want to thank everybody for showing love to the program. Last week, we surpassed 100,000 subscribers, continue to grow upon that number. 80,000 people joined us for our watch party yesterday, the best place to experience game day for this fan base outside of being at the actual game. And congratulations to a couple of loyal subscribers. John Aiello, Super Chat MVP, the winner of our signed autographed Joe Montana jersey, and Tracy, the winner of our Niners desk pad. Really do appreciate the support. I hope you appreciate this show. And with that, let's start the show right now. I'm Chase Sr. This is the San Francisco 49ers reporting. Coming up on today's show, a lot to get to as I mentioned, but first, the program. Sponsored by RexMD. Head to rexmd.com/chat. #1 leader in men's telehealth. And with RexMD, fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish that you could have a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you're not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. They offer an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. The Niners were scoring TDs yesterday. You don't want ED. RexMD can solve it. Their team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made right here in the USA. So you can trust its quality. Plus, customer support team available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So, for the faithful, if you're ready to take control of your sex life, say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat. Start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered. That is 90% off and a free gift if you head to rexmd.com/chat. We'll put that link for you down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. So really the purpose of today's show, we did our post-game show after the watch party yesterday, and then I woke up this morning, did a little meditation, drinking French press coffee on my balcony, and I was tweeting out a lot of thoughts, a lot of news, observations from that Niners game yesterday. And I want to make you a smarter Niner fan on this Monday. So we're going to pop up a lot of my tweets and analysis from yesterday's ball game, and then just offer some more thoughts on that. By the way, feel free to give me a follow on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Chase_Senior. So I want to start with this because I do think the defense, the biggest winner of yesterday's really impressive win over a Jaguars team that entered having won 5 games in a row. And given the talent along the Niners defensive line, talked about this here on the show, talked about it with Larry Krueger. I wanted to see more bare fronts. That's 5 defensive linemen. Yesterday we saw that. Steve Wilks, seat was hot beneath him. He mixed in more of those yesterday, and I think it helped result in San Francisco's best defensive performance of the season, forcing 4 turnovers against a solid Jaguars team. Certainly the Jags game, Cowboys game, 2 of the best defensive performances for this Niners defense. And it was also good to see Chase Young, Randy Gregory lined up on the interior of the defensive line at defensive tackle to pose some matchup problems for that Jaguars offensive line. And it resulted in the Niners having 5 sacks during yesterday's game. Javon Hargrave, more on him here in a moment. Thought he was really sensational. Certainly his best game in a Niner uniform and the best one that he's had going back to that Giants game. Nick Bosa, a sack and a half. He looked like the reigning defensive player of the year. Clelin Ferrell continues to be a very solid rotational edge rusher who can also play a little bit of defensive tackle, kind of in that Charles Omenihu Arden Key role, the latest of just another developmental project for Chris Kosaric. Chase Young making a Niner debut. That was impressive. He had that half sack on that takeaway when Bosa ripped the ball away from Trevor Lawrence. And then Arik Armstead, first drive of the game, on 3rd down. Niners get a critical stop to get that offense on the field. They went down the field and scored a touchdown. Brock Purdy to Brandon Ayuk, all thanks to that Armstead sack. So with all of that talent along this defensive line, really no excuses For this team to not generate pressure on the quarterback, that had been a huge issue going into the bye week, especially during that 3-game losing streak. And Steve Wilks had that unit firing on all cylinders. Next tweet I want to get to. A couple of things that I really like so far. And I said this during the game when we were live for our watch party. You know, using the aforementioned Chase Young, Randy Gregory, Clelin Ferrell at that defensive tackle spot. More on that. When you have quick and physical players of their size and stature, but athleticism, you're taking over and you're taking on, plotting slower guards and center. So they can win those types of matchups on a pass rush because slower guard against a normal edge rusher, advantage goes to the speedy edge rusher. And Steve Wilks, I thought, loaded the front line. I like how San Francisco, in moments, he chose his spots smartly when dialing up some blitzes. And then lastly, with that defense on this tweet here, the run defense was really good against a very solid Jaguars rushing attack. They came into the game ranked 26th in the NFL among 32 teams against the ground attack. Year 1, year 2 of D'Amico Ryans, they were first and second respectively. And during that 3-game losing streak, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Through the air, on the ground, but that rushing defense was porous, and that's what allowed teams to have these really long drives to eat up clock that resulted in putting points on the scoreboard. Niners shut that down. Pass rush, run defense, very, very stout against a very solid Jaguars team in that early window, traveling across country on Sunday. And when the Niners pass rush gets home, that's a game changer. Why? Because that allows the secondary's job to become a lot more easier. When they don't have to go step for step and hold up in pass coverage for so long with some of these wide receivers here. Not only were the Niners aggressive, as I just noted, they played fast. They were playing, and they were running around like the hair was on fire. And going into the bye week, Kyle Shanahan even said it. Steve Wilks said coming out of the bye week, looking at the film, we look really slow. Yesterday, they were fast, sideline to sideline, wreaking havoc vertically as well. Another key adjustment for Steve Wilks. Thank God Isaiah Oliver was benched. And we talked about him, and we talked about the issues with the Niners slot nickel corner a lot here on the program because it was simply not good enough. And the Isaiah Oliver signing that I applauded originally has turned out to be a disaster. And the Niners went into the bye, looking at that position. They come out of the bye against Jacksonville, making a change. San Francisco moved Diamador Lenore into the slot. I've said I've liked that because he's a little bit smaller, but still a really good DB who is capable of covering in the slot. He replaced Isaiah Oliver, and then Ambry Thomas went to the outside. Isaiah Oliver in 4 previous games had allowed a completion percentage of 100%. 8 targets, 8 catches, 2 touchdowns, second lowest graded cornerback in the National Football League. So they yanked him. They put Demo in the slot. They put Ambry Thomas on the outside, who could certainly be a little bit better, but Ambry Thomas logged 43 snaps. Isaiah Oliver just 3, all in garbage time, and Lenore was in the slot. And I know a lot of people aren't high on Ambry Thomas. 3rd-round pick, up-and-down career. I thought he played well his rookie season, considering he didn't play in 2020 because of COVID at Michigan. Look, yesterday, goal line sequence, good coverage on Calvin Ridley. Then he ripped the ball away from Christian Kirk, forcing a fumble, recovering the fumble. And if it wasn't for the bench celebrating that play, he would have went all the way back for a touchdown. So I think we're going to continue to see outside corners, Charvarius Mooney-Ward, Ambry Thomas, on the inside, Diamador Lenore, and this Niners defense is better because of it. I also think the addition of Chase Young, great debut, by the way. The Buckeye boys, him and Nick Bosa, were wreaking havoc on both sides of the line of scrimmage at defensive end. He really helped unlock Javon Hargrave, who had his best game in a Niners uniform. Hargrave yesterday against the Jags, 1.5 sacks, 3 pressures, a team best pass rush win rate of 33%, also had a run stop win rate of 71%, and San Francisco's horses, which had not been playing up to their level of ability during that 3-game losing streak and really throughout the entire season, finally showed up, finally had a day, and Hargrave was really dominant and disruptive at defensive tackle. Now, plenty more to get to here on the show. Only getting started. Best Niners show on YouTube. If you want programs like this, make sure you subscribe. If you're pumped about this Niners win, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you're a Niner fan, might as well like the video here. More stuff that I want to get to here on the show, because more to get to on the defense, but also the offense as well. Much was made about Steve Wilks' move to the sideline. Football people tell you it doesn't really matter. I actually do think there's value in eye contact and face-to-face communication, and I do believe that those things are valuable from a human nature, human element perspective. And I think that when leaders like Fred Warner and Arik Armstead say stuff like this, it shows you that Steve Wilks' presence on that sideline made a slight difference, and it did benefit this team. And you're always looking for marginal advantages in business, in sports, and maybe San Francisco found one right here, because I value the defensive opinions and the cultural opinions of captains Fred Warner and Arik Armstead. And here's what they had to say when asked about Wilks moving to the sideline. Warner up first. It was good having him down there. The communication was flawless. Look, eye-to-eye, face-to-face communication is much more effective than talking through a headset. That's just the reality of how humans interact throughout the evolution of mankind, right? And then Arik Armstead, I think it would be great, or I think it would be great to see how it goes so we can have more communication and talk to the leader of our defense. He, too, was very complimentary of Steve Wilks on that sideline as well. We saw him get in the face of Charvarius Mooney-Ward, pumping him up at one point. That was certainly terrific to see. And when you're relaying some of the adjustments, some of the energy, when you're looking at different body language and facial expression, sometimes little things like that, this is why it's studied in many fields, can directly lead to changes and adjustments, and yesterday, a little bit better play. I know Kyle Shanahan said it's one of the more underrated things ever. I actually put a lot of value in eye-to-eye, face-to-face communication because I think it's so much better than just communicating through a headset or virtually. That's one of the big problems that I had with COVID. Like, I want to go to work. I want to talk to my boss. I want to talk to my coworkers. Talking to them in person, much better than just looking at Trace through Zoom. Just not as effective. Now let's talk some offense here. Top 5 quarterbacks in QBR after Brock Purdy had a dazzling day yesterday. 19 of 26, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He is now number 1 in QBR, 76.3, followed by Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. Purdy also making history, now joins Kurt Warner as the second quarterback in NFL history with 3 games of 3+ touchdown passes and a passer rating of 140+ in his first 2 seasons. And this is kind of the story of yesterday's game. The Niners just beating the brakes off the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is also the story of our watch party yesterday. Chip and Trip hyping me up like Trent Williams is. Me just taking down a beer because it was a victory Sunday and now it's a victory Monday. But with Purdy, very good performance. He threw a touch, accuracy, anticipation. I thought that he overcame some things where he was getting blitzed very heavily throughout this ball game. He actually faced a career high in the amount of times that he was blitzed yesterday against the Jags. I tweeted this out as well and just want to note this, that Purdy pressured a career high. 50% of his dropbacks, he threw for a career high 143 yards, and when pressured, 8 of 12 with 2 touchdowns. He now has 8 touchdowns and 1 pick when pressured in his career. You could talk about arm strength. You can talk about athleticism. You can talk about speed. A quarterback can have a bazooka. If they can't throw with touch, accuracy, anticipation, and they can't process, and they can't identify blitzes and have success against the blitz, they will be eaten alive in this league. I've said this a couple of times. Let me say it again. Brock Purdy has some mature quarterback instinctual elements to his game that makes up for maybe a lack of having a rifle or a cannon for an arm. And how about the touchdown throw to George Kittle? 66 yards to start that second half, and that really blew the doors off of this game. People aren't talking about how great and a difficult throw that was from Purdy to Kittle on that wheel route. It required a lot of arm strength, and given how muddied up the pocket was, Purdy dropped it in perfectly. Now, he had a shorter drop, so the offensive line was a little bit muddy because of that. Purdy looked at the dig. he realized it wasn't there, or he realized that Kittle on Devin Lloyd on the wheel was one-on-one. He was open. All he had to do was get it there. But when Purdy identified that, the pocket was crowded. He had uneven feet, so his base was off platform. His arm got hit right here, so he wasn't able to follow through on that throw, but he showed off that underrated arm strength to get that ball over the top, layer it in there, over the head of Devin Lloyd, and then George Kittle was able to do the rest and take it to the end zone, high stepping into the end zone. And what was cool about that play, too, if you go back and look at some of the All-22, this is on Twitter right now, Kyle Shanahan, right when Purdy threw it and right when Kittle caught it, he didn't even watch the rest of the play. He knew it was a touchdown, gave a little fist pump. He was pumped up. The broadcast, too, realized that once Kittle caught it, he was gone. So that's a little wrinkle on the play design to have Kittle matched up with the linebacker on a wheel. Oftentimes you'll take that, but a hell of a throw by Brock Purdy, off platform, pocket muddied, can't follow through to still get the ball downfield, in stride, accurately, dropping that piece in the bucket. Speaking of George Kittle, 3 catches for 116 yards yesterday. He now has 559 yards this year. He's surpassed 500 yards now for a 7th consecutive season. Any talk of him being washed? Have you seen what he did yesterday? As well as against the Dallas Cowboys, plenty of gas left in the tank. He now joins Rob Gronkowski, Keith Jackson, and Hall of Famer Ozzie Newsome as the only tight ends ever to record 500 or more receiving yards in each of his first 7 seasons of their careers. George Kittle is one of the best to do it of all time and also has an impact in the blocking game as well. Lastly, Sunday, the first time the Niners won a road game by at least 31 points since Week 8 of 2013. That game was played in London at Wembley Stadium, also against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, consider the spot. 3 straight losses, quality opponent. Jags had won 5 straight, cross-country, early window, 34-3. Niners were balling yesterday. Let's also talk about the NFC playoff picture here. Seattle won yesterday. Game-winning field goal at the end of regulation. There were 5 at the buzzer yesterday. That is a record in NFL history. So Seattle wins. They're still 6-3. Niners 6-3. But San Francisco owns the tiebreaker. But that game coming up on Thanksgiving night. And then 2 weeks later at Levi's against the Seahawks, some of the best football that we could potentially see this year. Philadelphia Eagles on a bye, 8-1, number 1 seed in the NFC. Detroit Lions, very solid last-moment win. Another field goal at the buzzer yesterday over the Los Angeles Chargers, still in that 2 spot at 7-2. That has not changed. So actually, the top 7 seeds in the NFC did not change from yesterday. Eagles 1, Lions 2, Niners 3, Saints 4, Seahawks 5, Cowboys 6, and then the Vikings have won 5 games in a row, number 7. And Josh Dobbs just balling right now. Other teams in the hunt, 4-5, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They come to Levi's Stadium next week. That's the next opponent for the Niners. 10.5 point favorites is the early line. So San Francisco, still plenty of work to do. In a good spot right now. You get to that 2 seed, they can really make some things happen. And those top 2 seeds would be the same as they were last year. Niners injury news to round things out. Nothing reported from Kyle Shanahan after the game. That's, of course, always ideal. Could change, though. Arik Armstead did leave, was a little bit gimpy with the lower body injury, and then Nick Bosa was down there for a little while. Both players did come back in that game and ended up still having an impact, but you never know if injuries could settle in a day after the dub. If you're still kicking it with this, give me a real one down below. Certainly appreciate everybody for your continued support of everything that we do here on the 49ers Report. For Trace, I'm Chase. We'll see you later. Bang, bang, Niner gang.